Hi, I'm Garla Smith, the owner of Smart Moms and Fluid Careers, and I want to welcome you to our webinar, 3 Pillars for Creating the Fluid Career That You Desire. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm excited to share with you this information. This webinar is ideal if you're a mom who has advanced degrees, spent some time, lots of time maybe, putting in time, money, and energy into your education, but you found that you've had to come home to care for a child or children in need. Perhaps the children are better and you are ready to get back into the workforce, or maybe you need some flexibility because your children are still at home, but you want to do something with your career. Maybe the pandemic has tired you out within your career and you need a break. You need to make a career shift. Perhaps you've had your own personal health issues that you've had to deal with, and you're healthy again and you're ready to get back at your career. Maybe you're dealing with a parent, caring for a parent. Maybe they're ill, or maybe they're just no longer as independent as they used to be, and you want to be there for them, support them, but also keep your career moving forward. Maybe you've always had your career as secondary to all the other things and people in your life, and you've decided now is your time and you're ready to move forward and to put yourself first. If any of those scenarios kind of speak to you, then you're in the right place, and this webinar is specifically for you. Here's what you're going to learn in the next 40 minutes. You're going to be able to examine your resounding core values that have dictated many of your career decisions in the past. You're going to be able to define your qualities and skills that have defined your major career moves throughout your life. And you're going to learn how to give yourself grace to make some career decisions that you desire in your career moving forward. And I'll give you a hint. Grace is the secret sauce. You know, maybe this sounds like you. You're a mom. You're good at so many things. You have so many skills and abilities, but you're trying to figure out or understand which ones are tied to continuous or renewed energy, enjoyment, and give you the strongest earning potential now and in the future. You're looking at those skills and abilities that will put you on a path that allows you to balance your health, take care of others that you love, and find meaningful work. And it is really hard to figure out which ones are in line with the career path that is ideal for you, or which ones are tied to your next best career step that will bring you fulfillment or desire. Our biggest fear, I think, is that we'll choose a career step that's not in line with our passion, that's not in line with our values. And while it makes us money, we are miserable, tired, burnt out, continuously driving, but getting nowhere. And believe it or not, that scenario can occur whether we're in our 30s or we're in our 60s. The thing that really causes that fear is a lack of knowledge, a knowledge about who we are from a bird's eye view. What are the values that are dictating the decisions that we're making? Understanding that these are core things about us that we need to understand, accept, and use that knowledge to make some educated moves and decisions moving forward. We have not taken the time, when we don't embrace who we are and the knowledge about ourselves, to understand what are the driving decisions in the past and the decisions that lead to an awareness of our abilities that are tied to our greatest potential. We have to pause, stop, and look at our greatest values and our greatest abilities and strengths to give us, again, our best earning potential. Once you've adapted what I'm going to teach you today, you'll be able to see the strongest core values that have motivated you through the past. Core values don't normally change. They may shift a little, but they are who you are, and they make the call on decisions. And so in this session, you're going to be able to see some of those core values. You're going to be able to use them when you're trying to decide your next best step for you that works for you and works for your family. There's going to be peace and confidence that you're making the next best decision for your career. Here's what the results will be. You're going to be able to apply this knowledge and create a personalized strategy for landing a job that will match your heart's desires, your skills, abilities, and those that are most uniquely in line with you. This knowledge and career path awareness will help you focus on continuously improving and developing those skills that are truly in line with your best career step. You might be asking, well, Garla, what is a fluid career? A fluid career is one that ebbs and flows as you need it to. It pulls back, it moves forward, it grinds when necessary, depending on what's going on in your life and with your life, your health, or those around you. It can be ramped up depending on opportunities that are in line with your goals. But it is a career plan that ebbs and flows as is needed. My name is Garla Smith. I'm a career coach, educator, entrepreneur, and author, and I have a heart for helping mothers of all walks navigate work-life balance throughout their life seasons. I've been doing this work for over 19 years, and I've helped over 500 women find career paths that work for their skill, interests, and their passion. My formal education is a mechanical engineer, or mechanical engineering. Both my degrees, my bachelor's and my master's, are in mechanical engineering. And when I finished my degrees, I went to work for 2 Fortune 500 companies. Very quickly, I realized that I needed to be doing more meaningful work, and I started my own recruiting, coaching, and staffing firm back in 2003. It has been my life joy to work with mothers and help them establish work-life balance. I'm inspired by the original smart mom in my book, my mother, who was a single parent raising 2 children and balancing 3 jobs, a business public school teacher, working in a community college part-time, and working teaching education classes in a prison. And at the age of 49, she had her first stroke. She had some subsequent strokes after that, and through that process of her regaining her health, I had an awareness of how hard she worked as a mother, and it sparked something in me to want to help mothers moving forward to establish careers where they could establish work-life balance. My mom 50 years ago didn't have that option, but I do believe mothers are doing the most important work out there, and they need options. And they need the ability to flex, ebb and flow as necessary. So I would love to show you the Fluid Career Framework. Are you ready? All right. So this is a master class with a proven system about how to help mothers find a fluid career. It allows them total freedom to excel at work and at home. So we're going to cover the 3 pillars of a fluid career. The first being grace. I alluded to it earlier. It is the secret sauce. It is the ingredient that allows us to forgive ourselves, to offer love to ourselves when we have to make a shift, ramp up or ramp down, depending on what's going on in our lives. If we don't have grace, we walk around feeling guilty, ashamed, frustrated that we've had to make certain decisions. And grace is a critical piece of a fluid career because these decisions are going to have to be made periodically of ramping up and ramping down. The second piece is confidence. Confidence is, again, another pillar of a fluid career. With a fluid career, you have a confidence that you know where you're going. You have a confidence that you're making strategic steps to move forward to reach your career goals, whether they're occurring 4 months or 4 years out. You have a confidence that you are moving forward. And if you don't have a confidence, then you don't show up in interviews confidently. You don't move through your career path confidently. You make missteps. And so a fluid career allows you to embrace confidence. And finally, a fluid career has balance. It allows you to ebb and flow as needed. You're able to secure job opportunities and career paths that allow you to flex with your children or whatever the need is. Maybe it's an elderly parent, and also ramp up when you need to. The employer, the work environment, the type of work that you're doing allows for balance. So seeking and designing a fluid career should provide you with grace for yourself, confidence, and balance. A fluid career, if you do not have these 3 components, will lead to burnout. You're grinding, you're hustling, but you have all of these other demands and you're trying to keep up with both. And eventually there is a burnout, a tiredness, a ready to quit immediately. And when that happens, it's very difficult to stay on your career path because you're just tired and worn out. A fluid career that is not encompassing these 3 items is likely to show perfectionism, a desire to keep grinding, to keep doing it perfect, to keep trying to get it right in all areas. And that perfectionism is continuous and it's tiring and it's spinning your wheels. You're never getting anywhere. So with the fluid career, you're able to do what you can, when you can, and back off as you need to. Strategically back off when you need to. All right. Now, let's take a deeper look at these 3 pillars. So, my whys. This is critical in understanding why you're doing what you're doing. What is your reasoning behind pursuing this particular type of career path? If you don't have whys, then you're kind of blowing in the wind. It's kind of like having a business plan. If you don't have a business plan where you're strategically laying out why you're doing what you're doing, what is your mission, what are your values, then you never hit your mark. And so one of the first steps of establishing a fluid career is establishing your whys. You will also need to establish a personalized strategy. What is a strategy that is directly tied to your whys, that is directly tied to the market, that is implementable, feasibly implementable by you? A personalized strategy. If you don't have one, then it's very difficult. Let's say, for instance, you have decided that you want to be an executive with a particular company. That is your long-term 10-year goal. We've strategically laid out how you're going to get there, but we've based this strategy, or we're thinking through this strategy, might be through networking or through social media branding and awareness and a constant, steady flow. We have to think about, what are your strengths? What is the strategy that works for you? If you're not a natural networker, we can develop that skill, but there's only but so much we can develop. We have to work with what's in your capabilities, what's personalized for you. And so we really need to think about, what is your personalized strategy? And then finally, we have your execution. So we have your whys, we have a strategy, we have to now execute, put it into action. And if we don't put it into action, then it's just talk. We never actually realize what our goals are. And so we need to be able to execute. All right, so let's dive a little bit deeper. What are the whys? What are the critical whys that you need to be mindful of? You need to be mindful of your core values. What are the things that are most important to you that dictate why you want to get up and go to work, why you continue to go to work, what is directly tied to what is most important to you? And I do believe these core values are established early in life. Sometimes when we first go to work, and maybe even before we go to work, we've established what our values, our most important reasoning is behind why we work. If we don't have that or awareness of it, we can make decisions that are based on things that look important, but really are not important to us. And then we end up job hopping or moving around. Abilities and skills. Again, looking at what are the most prominent and most valuable abilities and skills that you have that are earning potential, strongly earning potential. So let's say, for instance, you're a really big calligraphy writer, right? You do it well, but is there really a market for calligraphy writing? Or how do we create that? And so we really want to look at all of your skills and abilities and which ones have the strongest earning potential and give you joy to do. And then passion pill. What's your passion pill? What are the things that just light you up? I always think of this as, what were you designed to do when you came in the world? What was put in you that is on a heart level you need to do? Let's figure that out. And if we don't know, then let's keep talking and exploring until we figure it out, because that's what's going to keep you going over a 10 or 12-year period, your passion. For your personalized strategy, so we know your whys, we got to figure out now, how do we create a strategy that's in line with your core values, your abilities, skills, and your passion pill? Also, is it in line with what's going on in the job market? What you're interested in and what you have aptitude and skills in, where does it fit in with the job market and the demand? We want to look at the cheerleaders and the pace setters. So if you don't have these are the people that are going to help you move forward in idea or in verbal conversation. And so we spend time in your personalized strategy thinking about your role models, your mentors, people that have charged or charted a career path before you, and you can look at their career path, maybe talk to them, engage with them. But we want to identify who they are first and who motivates you. And then finally, we want to look at timelines. What is the timeline? And it might be a very long-term timeline with some intermediate steps in it, but we need to establish a timeline. And then, of course, grace comes in, where if we don't meet those timelines or certain things happen, there's a slight shift, but we have timelines. We have goals that we're working towards. We also have a execution piece, which is critical. So we have all of these things in place. Now we have to create the collateral material, which is the first piece of the execution plan to help you land or move forward in your fluid career. Collateral material could be your resume. It could be your cover letter. It could be your creative portfolio. It could be your LinkedIn testimonies. It could be tweeting or having a social media presence. It could be a lot of things, but we have to figure out what is ideal for you, what is in alignment with what you can do, and tied to personally what you're capable of doing, and then create it. We talked about it already, your cheerleaders and your pace setters. They're part of your support rails. We got to now put those in place. I always think of it like bowling, right? The side rails come up when you're actually bowling. Okay, who are your board of directors? Who are your individuals that you can call when you need an encouraging conversation? Who are some pictures that you can look at to remind you, oh yeah, that's what I'm shooting for. We got to put your support rails up. That's part of the execution plan. And if you don't have those, it gets challenging, because looking for a job and staying on this career fluid path can be challenging. And then finally, we have your practice. Practice is the key ingredient, because it's where you get to implement and work on your delivery. So I know very few people who can just go into an interview and nail it every time. There normally is some level of practice that's involved. It may be one or two questions, maybe why you took a break, or why you went from part-time to full-time, or why you're making a career shift. Or maybe it's just interview practice because you've been on a job for a while. We got to spend some time practicing. That's all part of the execution plan. All right. So this is the Fluid Career Method. You can learn more about it at fluidcareers.com. And for what we're diving into, I'd like to share with you or dive into 3 of these key areas: core values, abilities and skills, and grace. They're the ones that I think are extremely important. So let's start with core values. You should have a worksheet in front of you. This worksheet identifies the top 12 values that I believe dictate or are used in deciding whether you're going to stay on a job or leave a job. And so we're going to try through a quick exercise to identify some of your core values. So very quickly, I want you to take your worksheet, read over the definitions of those 12 core values. Now, I want you to close your eyes and think about the very first job that you had before you went to college. I want you to think about the environment that you worked in. Who were you working with? How much were you making? What were you doing? Were you outside? Were you inside? What did it smell like, feel like? What was your manager like? And I want you to see want you to think about what made that job good. And then look on your list of values and see if you can determine one that is in alignment with your reason. And I want you to write it down on the first line. I want you to also think about why you left that job. Maybe it was to go to college, maybe it was to take a better job. What was going on that made you say, I got to get out of here? If the schedule wasn't right, it's tied to working conditions. If the boss got a little bit mean, it's tied to relationships, right? So I want you to think about what was your reasoning, and I want you to write that corresponding value right next to your first one. Now, I want you to go to the second line where it says second job, and I want you to think about what was the job that you had that you enjoyed the most right when you got out of college. It could be your bachelor's, your master's, your PhD, your MD, whatever it was. I want you to think about that job. What made that job great? Again, and just immerse yourself into that environment again and just think it through. And then align it with a value. And when you left that job, what was the reasoning behind it? What was the value that was not being met? Put that on the second line as well. All right, now here's the last one. For your third job, I want you to think about the job that you had in the last 10 years, the job that you have really enjoyed. You have to close your eyes again and just think about, okay, what was the job I really enjoyed? What was most enjoyable about it? And maybe that job was a volunteer job, or it was a job that was part-time, or maybe you were at home but working on some type of project for a decent period of time. I want you to think about what that job was and what was rewarding about it and tie it to a value. And then from there, I want you to think about if you've left that job, what motivated you? What was not being met? And write that value down. All right, now, you should have one more line under there. That's for your abilities and skills. So let's go back to the first job that you had before you went to college. I want you to just look at your sheet, and on the second part of the sheet, you should see a list of about 25 abilities and skills. And I want you to think about the skills and abilities that you were developing and using that you thought you were pretty good at on that job, that very first job before you went to college. Communication skills, organization skills. You could work very efficiently. What was it? Write it down. And I want you to think about your second job. What were the abilities and skills that you had on that job out of college? Right out of college. The job that you enjoyed, but the skills that you were using and developing and using to do your work that you enjoyed. Look on the list and see if you can find an alignment. And it doesn't have to be on the list, right? If you're thinking of something that you know you were really good at, I want you to write it down even if it's not on the list. And then finally, I want you to think about your third job. Skills and abilities again. These might be a volunteer part-time job, full-time job, maybe it was remote. Whatever the situation, what were the skills and abilities you were using that were really good? Good. Now you should have something on every line. Okay. For your values, I want you to look between jobs 1, 2, and 3 and see if you see any repeats. Maybe you have 1 or 2 that show up in 3 of those jobs. Circle them. That's probably a core value. Something that is dictating and making decisions about how you work or what's important to you. And if it's not being met, you will leave a job. It is extremely important to you. And so as you're making these next steps, keep that core value in mind. You have a list of abilities and skills, and that list might be long. It should be long, and I want you to continue to expand this list. But these are the skills and abilities that you have, and your task is going to be to figure out which one of those you enjoy, you're well adept at doing, and have good earning potential. Now, maybe you don't need money, but it's pretty good to be able to use your skills and to be able to be richly rewarded for them, even if you don't need the money. And so I want you to think about what are the revenue implications for these skills and abilities, and that you enjoy them. All right. I'd like to share with you a successful story from a recent coachee that I engaged with. This is Melanie. She'd been out of the engineering work realm for over 20 years. She had kept her career going through consulting, entrepreneurship, various part-time educator roles, and building her personal speaking offerings by doing TED Talks and various professional speaking engagements. She was moving forward and she was taking career steps, but she was not confident about what was the right career path for her. She was very clear, though, about her skills and abilities, like I hope you are. Some of her skills and abilities included natural networking. She was a natural networker. She's a critical thinker, writing skills, quality control, problem solving, execution, communication skills. As we continue to engage, we found that her work values were achievement, recognition, and independence. They showed up in multiple jobs as we explored her job history. We spent a significant amount of time understanding and prioritizing her whys. We got even clearer with her whys as she began to work on her personalized strategy. And Melanie engaged in a fair amount of informational interviews to understand the alignment with her skills and abilities and what was happening in the marketplace. Within 6 months of our engagement, Melanie had engaged in 10 interviews. She looked at 12 companies total that were interested in her. She began working on her collateral materials in month 4. And within 2 weeks after completing her collateral materials, she had narrowed down and began to engage with one particular startup firm where she had over 6 interviews. It's a small startup firm. They made her a great offer, and she joined as employee number 7. She practiced a fair amount of her interviewing skills and self-promoting skills to ensure she received a great offer. I talked to Melanie recently, and she is so much happier now. I quote, "I was just thinking about how much happier I am now than in March 2021 and even in March 2019. I'm making 50% more than I was at my previous employer, and I'm 1,000% more fulfilled." She also noted that her relationships across the board are much better. Melanie is a great example of a mom who has crafted her own fluid career path. She is engaged in understanding her whys, a personalized strategy, and execution. She has also worked very hard to make sure she was clear on her core values, abilities, and skills, and she offers herself grace on a regular. I hope through this webinar, you have had the opportunity to understand your core values, at least a couple of them. I encourage you to continue to explore them. I hope you have identified some abilities and skills that you've used that have decent or strong earning potential. And I hope you understand the importance of grace, giving yourself forgiveness and love as you make decisions with your career that require you to ebb and flow. My hope is that you will take this information and begin to create a personalized strategy that works for you, and you can move forward to find your own fluid career. I also encourage you, if you feel you are unable to do it yourself, just take one simple step and reach out and sign up for a free 30-minute career clarification call with me at FluidCareer.com. I would love to engage with you, get to know you better, and see if we might be a good fit for working together. During that call, we'll carve out more about your personalized strategy, discuss more about your core values, and determine if we can work together. I'll also share during that time, if we decide that it is a good fit, my program cost. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you on FluidCareers.com. And best of luck to you. Talk to you soon.